As a 5-year-old boy, I got to meet my first big leaguer. It was Brian Downing. And Brian Downing was a player, left fielder for the California Angels. And he said, man, I never saw an athlete like your dad. He could run, he could hit, he could fly around the bases, switch hitter, he could do it all. But he left pro ball to take care of your mom and you 7 kids, you and your 7 brothers and sisters. And that moment I said, I want to be like Brian Downing. I want to play in the big leagues, but man, my dad is something real special. I really want to be like him. So my dream growing up was someday to be just like my dad. And on New Year's Eve, when my father was diagnosed with esophageal cancer, I'll never forget where I was. My mom told me, Mikey, you might want to pull over because I got some bad news for you. And on May 8th, after chemotherapy and radiation, my dad went in for surgery. The doctor came out to the recovery room and said, or the reception room and said, Mr. Sweeney, and to my mother, Mrs. Sweeney, the surgery was a success. Your father will be out in just about 30 minutes, so sit tight. You'll see him in a moment. About 5 minutes later, that same surgeon called us back to the consultation room and told us that everything went wrong. He had a heart attack, collapsed lung, punctured lung. His kidneys were failing. He had pneumonia. His blood pressure was almost down to nothing. He had a heart attack, and she said she had to cut him down the right side of his lat to open up his ribs to stop the bleeding. She said, if you are men of faith, Mike, you better cling to it because that's all you got right now. And to this day, doctors say it's a miracle that my father is here on August 15th. But I'll never forget, Blanny, I sat with my dad on his operating table right before they took him away. And he says, Mike, I promise you I'll be at Kauffman Stadium on August 15th. And he kept his promise. So even though I am a Royals Hall of Famer officially in a couple hours, I would be nothing without my dad. And I don't know if I could even stand up and receive this great honor had my dad not been here today. But he kept his promise.